Alright, so this is end of day one. So far, this is the section that I have done. Ignore this, it doesn't exist yet. But basically my plans for this morning were to do a track trick that would cover the length of this orange rod. Because I had this pre-planned trick with this red cup, where it's pretty simple. The ball basically goes into the cup, and it flips over really fast, and so the ball stays into the cup due to centrifugal force, and also because these cups are really suctiony, because they kind of sucks in the cup, and then it flips over, and then with enough force to knock it out and then go down the track. And so I wanted to have a track trick to cover that. My initial plan failed. I tried making sort of a rotating cube structure, in which the track would initially be like this, and it would be covered in a rotating cube, which would go all the way down and then land in the same position. It failed miserably because rotating cubes are sometimes unreliable and they're hard to build. But anyway, I scrapped it, tried to come up with a couple other ideas, scrapped those as well, and settled on this. And so this is actually, I think, a new idea. It's somewhat based on Gabe's unraveling connect structure from Spicing It Up 2. And as opposed to doing 3 rotations, it does 4 rotations. And what that means is I can have this track initially like this, and it'll sort of tumble all the way down to here and fully place itself in. And so I'll demonstrate this right now. Alright, so this is the end of day 2. Ignore all this, it doesn't exist yet. Today I made a crane mechanism, which is based on a ball machine module from a Knex ball machine I saw about a week ago. And it's basically a sort of an excavator mechanism technique that uses a weird flexing cross thing and flexing parallelogram. The details don't really matter. Basically, ball goes in, it extends all the way down, does a 90-degree little twist, drops it here, goes down the track. And then I also decided to make this a one-ball path because I sort of decided that the wow factor of a one-ball path outweighs the difficulty that it takes to make one. And because this trick sort of has 2 ball motions in it, I decided it would be fitting if I made a little elevator module on the end, which was actually pretty easy to make considering there's plenty of room for the elevator shaft underneath the end of this track. Oh, it's going. It's going. But yeah, I'll demonstrate that right now. Alright, so this is the end of day 3. Ignore this, it doesn't exist yet. Today I made a sort of Mario Kart unwinding curvy track thing. I didn't really know what I was going to do this morning, so I just picked up these macaroni noodle shaped Mario Kart tracks and realized they could slide along each other. And then spent like 8 hours trying to make a simple mechanism that could move these things because I'm brain dead. But I came up with something eventually, and then once I did that, it was pretty simple to finish it. I think it was Lyle who suggested that I should use the globe ball, and so I built a little putting system that allows the globe ball to go down the Mario Kart tracks, and yeah, it's pretty cool. Here it is. Alright, so this is the end of day 4. I didn't quite finish this trick because it's a little more complicated than I initially anticipated it being. Essentially this morning I wanted to build a trick with these launchers right here, these ball launchers. I thought of a few ideas, they were failures, and so I threw them in the bin. I trashed them, covered them in garbage. They're gone now, but they're replaced by this thing, which was initially an idea for 11 inventions, but I don't know when that's ever going to happen, so you're seeing it now. And basically it's pretty simple, but it's more or less a ball launcher conveyor belt. And so what I plan to do is have this billiard ball here go inside the first one. Each launcher I want to have its own mechanism for when the ball goes in, it triggers it sort of itself, and that it does it for all 3 of them. So it'll land in this launcher, and then that'll launch it up into the section, come down, trigger a mechanism which will lift up this lever, which will allow this whole module to slide one more forward for it to go into the next one, go down, and then it does the same thing one more time, and then finally goes all the way to the end, in which, when the ball's coming down, it'll pull a track domino over for the ball to go down and finish its path. And that's what I plan to do today. Alright, so this is the end of day 5, and the trick is now done. So this is what it looks like. And so a couple of things to note about this. One is on the end of this track, I have like a little shock absorber thing to make sure that it goes down really smoothly, because I didn't really know, there's no way I could have like a little barrier here because the launchers need to be in this path, and so it has to be attached to the track domino itself. Another thing, this little janky leap day lever setup is actually what causes the reaction to happen, what causes it to go one increment at a time between each of the lever presses. And I initially had the reaction lever right here, and it was like way off in terms of timing, and so I had to make a string connection all the way up here so that every time the billiard ball reaches this point, it triggers the reaction, because it used to be right here, and then it wouldn't even, like, it would literally go back into the same one instead of skipping one, so that wasn't really a very good design feature. Another interesting thing, I initially thought with these little self-contained reaction launcher thingies, I initially thought that I was going to have some like off-table weights or like really heavy wrenches and stuff. Turns out no, all I need is like a couple magnets and a heavy metal marble, and that's like more than enough weight to react the launcher, so it's pretty good. Alright, so the machine is done. I know I've skipped a couple updates. I've built 3 tricks since the last update, so I'm just going to sort of demonstrate them right now. This first one I've had pre-planned for a while. I was initially just going to do one track that sort of flips down and flops over, but I decided that 2 synchronized next to each other would look a lot better. And then I also wanted to use a car to go across both of the tracks. It didn't work, so the wind-up skateboard had to be sort of the replacement, but I cut out or printed out a little muck-muck. Because normally it's sort of a tradition for me to use muck-muck in my machine every single year, but I don't really have access to the stuffed animal version, and so I printed one out to put on the skateboard. But yeah, I will demonstrate how this trick looks right here. And so it just kind of goes across like this. I also sort of pulled Jack of all spades 98 to an extent. I minimized the number of domino and string connections on the edge and just sort of had this as sort of an instant connection between this track and the skateboard getting released. Alright, so this trick might seem a bit strange that it exists, considering in a previous update I explicitly said that I tried to do a rotating box trick and it failed miserably. Well, this one kind of did too. This one took me 2 days to make. The second day was literally just spent adding more and more security to it until it eventually started working somewhat consistently. But yeah, the premise is pretty simple. It's a gear inside a box. So it's a gearbox. And then it goes into a gear chain at the end. And it looks like this. It's pretty good. There's supposed to be a ball there. There wasn't a ball there. It just released oxygen. Alright, so this is both the first and last trick of my machine, because it is the last thing I decided to build. I didn't really know what I was going to do for this before I started to build it, not just because the space was pretty small, but because it's the first trick of the entire project, and I kind of wanted it to be special because of that. And so I decided to go with sort of a spinny sign-in revealer thing that I initially had a billiard ball rolling down that I found was decently slow enough so that you could read them as it's going down. But when I tried this sort of epic ball on a whim, I sent it down the track, and it's really slow, but it's perfect because it's like just slow enough so that you can read them very gradually one by one, and it gives me plenty of time to change the camera angle to go into the gearbox. But yeah, it turned out really well. The problem is this ball starts off right behind this sign, and so there's not really a lot of space for my hand to get back here. Like, my arm is really stretched out here from this point. And so to solve this, I decided to make a poking stick. But what's better, it's a pokey Porygon stick. And so I have Porygon on the end of this long rod sequence here. And then Porygon sort of taps the ball if I can reach it, and then starts off the machine. And that just makes it easy for me to film it, because I have to film it from pretty much all the way back here, and this stick is long enough for me to reach the beginning section.